August 17th. It's the same day of the other video. We went to the Mesa Overlook. We talked about life zones. We talked about soil texture and abiotic factors and some of the key plants in the pinyon juniper shrubland. And now we are at Blodgett Peak, which is just, which is like a 15-minute drive from Colorado Springs. So when Corona is over and you get back to CC and we can do these things again, you can go to Blodgett Peak. It's really close to campus. So what I want to show you in this video is the next life zone. So we talked about pinyon juniper shrubland. Now we are in the lower Montane. So we're at about probably like 7,500 feet. Okay, so this is the very lowest part of the Montane. But some of the two key tree species that I want you to know in the Montane are the ponderosa pine, Pinus ponderosa, right? And when we read the fire paper, the Schonagel paper, where we talk about fire regime and different forest types, they talk about Pinus ponderosa. So keep this in your ecology bonnet. We also have Douglas fir here behind me. So this is Douglas fir. So remember, if you touch the needles, Douglas fir are flat friendly fir, these needles, as opposed to pine needles that are in groups usually of 3 to 5. They're longer in the case of Pinus ponderosa. They're sharper. So that's if you're out in the field, you can tell the difference between a fir and a pine by investigating the needles. So the two key tree species you want to know about in the Montane are Pinus ponderosa and Douglas fir, Pseudotsuga menziesii, and there are different ways to say that. We also have a great example of limber pine, Pinus flexilis, right here, which has shorter needles than Pinus ponderosa. And by the way, this is a species that you would see up at Treeline on Pikes Peak. So I'll talk more about this tree species at Pikes Peak, like bristlecone pine, limber pine, but this is probably the lowest range. We are at the lowest extremity, the lowest point of where Pinus flexilis will grow. What's interesting about this particular spot at Blodgett Peak is we are kind of seeing an ecotone. And I'm not going to tell you what an ecotone is because you know that from the lecture in chapter 6. But we see kind of a merging of two communities. Oops, I just gave it away. We see the pinyon juniper species like Cercocarpus montanus, which I talked about when I was at Mesa Overlook. We see Yucca glauca down here. And we also see a species that I haven't talked about yet, which is gamble oak, okay, Quercus gambellii. And this species is a colonial species. It reproduces vegetatively. So another key concept we talk about, asexual versus sexual reproduction. What are the benefits of sexual reproduction? What are the benefits of asexual reproduction? Here is a species that can colonize an area very rapidly because of its vegetative or asexual reproduction, creating this rhizomatous growth underneath the soil. And this is a species that does really well after fire. Okay, so I'll show you another part on Blodgett Peak in a separate video of an area that was burned by Waldo Canyon fire, and you will see tons of gamble oak. But what's interesting about this point, and this is the key takeaway from this video, is we're in the lower Montane, so we're seeing the Douglas fir and the ponderosa pine, but we're also seeing the upper range of the foothills like Cercocarpus montanus, Quercus gambellii, and Yucca glauca.